Welcome to the Ashleigh Show. Here, the practical, the spiritual, the hilarious, the heartbreaking all belong. So each week, you'll either hear me bringing you along in daily noise, so think like vlog-style podcast, or it'll be me sitting crisscross in this chair, spilling what's on my mind. Sometimes we're gonna have guests, and sometimes I'm gonna have a set-aside moment for us just to pause and reconnect. Whatever the show looks like, my hope is that each episode leaves you feeling comforted, a little bit lighter, and more grounded in the good that's right in front of you. So let's get into it. I actually have started a podcast before. I did it right after having my second baby, and I am so tempted to say it was a terrible time to start a podcast, but that's not true. I just didn't really have what it took to work from home full time, create a podcast, the editing, the upkeep of just being a podcaster. And I was just getting my feet under me from having 2 under 2. I think I released maybe 6, 7 episodes, and I love them all dearly. But transparently, I just couldn't do it. I just didn't have that muscle worked up that I would need to keep up with it. So it feels like a fresh start. And I have 3 kids. I live in a wildly different place. I am just a different person from now, so it really does feel like a fresh start. Okay, so what can you expect here? My intro kind of hinted at there being 4 different styles of podcast episodes. There's going to be like your vlog, think like social media day in the life. I don't sit behind, if you're watching this on video, you recognize this. I don't sit behind a traditional podcast mic. I have a little clip on my shirt because I really do want this to feel like you're at my kitchen table, because you practically are. We are literally, I have a sheet behind me and we're in my living room right now. I want it to feel super casual. I want it to feel like an extension of maybe why you do follow me online. I'll have guests, I will have solo shows, and then I will have, think of almost like guided meditation might feel a little woo-woo. I don't know if I really want to say that. But segments that would be in lieu of maybe sitting down and journaling, or sitting down and reading your Bible if you do that, or just taking a deep breath. I recognize that we can't always do that, or mornings get rushy, but those are going to be the podcast episodes that you can throw on and listen to on your way home from drop off, that can just kind of give you that deep breath that maybe you didn't get to have, or maybe you're listening to it as you unload the dishwasher when you really wish that you were sitting down with a cup of coffee. Hopefully it'll reach you like that. Okay, but what can you expect? Let's talk content. Okay, so we're talking skincare routines. We're talking about how to make friends as an adult. We're talking about how I've learned to read the Bible with context and where am I doing these Greek and Hebrew word studies. We're talking about how not to pee your pants when you jump at the trampoline park after having kids. We're talking about how do we find God when we're in the thick of grief. We're talking about the new routines I'm trying. We're talking about my best mascara techniques. We're talking about different ways we're learning and loving ADHD or ADHD tendencies. We're talking about what I'm working through in therapy. I want you to gather from these just random lists I gave you that it is everything. We're talking about practical, the spiritual, the hilarious, the heartbreaking, all of it. It all belongs here in the umbrella of this show. Obviously, and always, my DMs are open if there is a specific question, content, topic, guest. I really do try to be, what is the word? A listener, a learner. I want to take feedback and I try to act on it as fast as I possibly can. So it is not out of bounds for you to tell me what you want to know. Okay, so that's a little bit of context of what the show is going to be about. Let's move into Fun Mom Summer. If you follow me online, you know that I branded this summer for myself Fun Mom Summer. What is Fun Mom Summer? It is figuring out what specifically you need to be a fun mom to your specific kid. So it's for sure not one size fits all. Rarely is anything one size fits all, right? So it's all about taking inventory of what do you like to do? What do your kids like to do? What boundaries do you have? What needs do you have? And just figuring out, how do I want to feel when this summertime is over? The summer is so interesting because there's something that's so glaringly temporal about it. Obviously, all seasons are temporary, duh, right? Like, our kids are growing up. If you're a mother, you get that message all the time. It's only for a season, you know? So I don't need to really heavily emphasize the summer is temporary, but it feels a little bit more temporary because a lot of times we have specific rhythms that go through the school year if your kids are in some type of school, and then we have summer. So I have found that I'm able to get away with some rhythms or some tendencies or some habits in the summertime that like would not last me 9 months. So for example, screen time. We have completely different like screen time rules in the summer because I know it's only 3 months. It's a brief 3 month, and then we will get back on the low screen time wagon when the school year gets here. Or maybe it's not a real lunch. Platter, lazy Susan lunch. Maybe it's paper plates. I have a friend who gets rid of all of her decorative pillows for the summertime because it's just like one more like messy thing. And there's already so much mess and stick and sand. Anywho, summer's over, so we're not going to camp out here for long. But Fun Mom Summer was a success. I had a Fun Mom Summer guide that I personally worked through that gave me so much clarity and vision for what small tweaks do I need to make. And I think it'd be kind of fun as we're gearing up to like settling into new routines for the fall. What am I taking from Fun Mom Summer and bringing into the fall? What worked? What did not work? What am I shifting? And then if you're like me, I can listen to and gab about routines and planning all day. It's debatably my love language. I don't even think it's debated. I think that when my husband and I lay in bed at night, I want to tell him the new thing I'm about to try the next day. I expect him to listen to it because I love talking about it. I love trying this kind of thing. So here we go. What worked for us this summer? Staying up late. I have 3 kids under 4 years old, and I most nights did all of their bedtime every single night. My husband was working late. That was just the cards I was dealt. And in a weird way, I think that really helped me figure out how optional bedtime is for us. We were going to bed around 10:30, 11 o'clock every single night. If I'm doing bedtime by myself, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. I want you exhausted. I want your head to hit the pillow and you start like groggily mumbling things to me and then you're falling asleep. Do you know what I'm saying? I want it to be so incredibly easy. And as much as I like kind of fought that at the beginning, I thought, for what? What award am I going to get if I make this harder on me? It's going to give me an award. I'd love to see it. I'm not going to get one, so I'm not doing that. So we watch movies almost every night together. The springtime guilt, it got me there for a little bit, but like now that we are in week 2 of being in school and I look back on the summer, hear me say this, Ashleigh, I'm talking to me. I don't have any guilt about it. Like the screen time guilt was kind of encroaching on me a little bit at the beginning, but when I look back on the summer, I'm like, oh, what the heck? Those were really sweet memories. We watched so many movies together. We would get in our jammies. A lot of times I made frozen pizza. We would all go upstairs. We'd sit on the couch together, clean, showered, cozy jammies. We'd eat snacks, we'd eat pizza, and we'd watch a movie from like 8:30 to 10. That's so sweet. That is so sweet. And man, I wish I could just let go of that screen time guilt that I had there for the first month, because I will forever look back on summer 2025 fondly for that reason. So I hope I listen to this podcast next year. What else worked? I only bought my kids one swimming suit each this year, and that forced me to keep up with it. That was a problem for me last summer, is swimming suits getting mildewy in my car, not being able to find them because I was like acting like they were disposable cups or something. Instead, I only let the kids have one swimming suit. They loved them. And I was like, okay, pressure's on, baby. We got to keep up with this. Here's a trick for you. Not every time we put these swimsuits on, they were completely dry, naturally, like if we did something late at night and then the next morning. So instead of them being wet and cold, I decided to make them wet and warm. They were already kind of damp, but I would just soak them in warm water in a bathtub, and then I rebranded them to my kids as a warm wet. Hey guys, your swimming suits are warm wet today, and they'd be like, cozy. And I would liken it to it coming out of the dryer, but a swimsuit version. That worked fantastic. I'll probably do that for the rest of my life. I accidentally overfilled our water filter. We have a water filter in our kitchen. I wish I could tell you details and brand, but my husband is the one who's like Mr. Water Filter and insisted that we were a family who needed to drink filtered water. I love him for it. Forever grateful. Use it every day, but I can't give recommendations or anything. I essentially went to go refill it, and then I started cooking dinner as one does, and I totally forgot that I had the faucet extended and draped into the tank, and I just had it on. Well, of course, naturally it overflowed. It went all over the counter. It went all over the floor. And truly, I want to lie about numbers, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to say it ran for like 20 minutes in the house. And it flooded the kitchen. And my kids were upstairs playing at the time. I don't want to give an account for why I didn't notice it when it was pulling up at my ankles. I genuinely thought, oh, weird, I don't remember my dress being wet from the baby spitting up. It's a long day. And the kids came downstairs and they were delighted. They were so excited to see that I had made our house into a splash pad. They said, this is our wildest dream coming true. Thank you so much, Mom. We've always wanted a splash pad for a kitchen. And they immediately started jumping up and down in it. And if you have a toddler or you like have ever met a toddler, you're like, yep, that is exactly how they responded. I have no doubt about it. But that moment, which could have been extremely frustrating for me, ended up honestly setting the tone for our entire Fun Mom summer, because I had to make the decision of, do I clean this up now in stress, or do I clean it up in 40 minutes from now after the kids have played and splashed around in the kitchen? Is it going to make that big of a difference if I don't clean it up right now in this exact moment? And I could not find a good reason to clean it up right away. Like, I wanted to, but I couldn't figure it out. I thought there's really not that big of a difference. And this actually, I'm watching my children, maybe, dare I say, make their favorite summer memory. Oopsies. And I went to bed that night being like, I think that is the posture that I need to copy and paste into everything for this to be a Fun Mom summer. Like, really confronting my gut of, no, we can't do that. To why? What difference would it make? Is it going to inconvenience you? Okay. That's worth thinking about. But like, this wasn't even going to inconvenience me if I didn't clean it up right away. They bring it up all the time, and they always ask me to recreate it, and I have to be the bearer of bad news and say, not on purpose. I might recreate it one day, but not on purpose. So it's not today. But that kind of marked me. And moving into the conversation of what am I taking into fall from Fun Mom Summer, questioning your gut instinct of being like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work. Oh, not tonight. That I want, honestly, to take with me forever as a parent. Something else that worked for me to be a fun mom this summer was get wet immediately so splashing isn't annoying. I wish that was a smoother saying. I would buy a t-shirt of it. When I would go to the pool with the kids and they would splash me, it would be so aggravating if I wasn't already wet. But there's just something about if you go to the pool and immediately full submerge, immediately cannonball, immediately mermaid, immediately get completely wet. When they splash you, it is so much less aggravating. And I didn't hear me say this, I didn't do this every time. I really tried most times, and it was so much more fun for me to get to actually like play with them, enjoy being wet in a way, like be at the pool if I wasn't annoyed by splashing. It just made the experience for everybody 10 times better. This fall, if I find myself at a pool because it's still hot here or an indoor pool, I will still keep that rule. Get wet immediately so splashing is not annoying. Okay, what am I taking into fall? Here are the carryovers. The first thing is I found that I would get super duper overstimulated and hit a wall almost every day between 3 and 5 p.m. What worked? Dance parties worked. We will be doing that again. Toddler workout videos worked. The kids are whining for screen time. I'm touched out. Toddler workout videos. There's one YouTube channel, GVO Kids, I think. Pregnancy and Postpartum TV. Love them. I love them. They have these Moana workouts. They have the floor is lava workouts. They have these just essentially really easy move your body workouts. That saved me this summer. I will be doing that this fall. I've talked about this in a couple other podcasts I've been interviewed on, so this may not be super fresh news. Having a mental breakdown routine worked. To pretend you're never going to need to break down as a mom is silly willy. Don't do that. It is silly willy. You will need to break down. And what makes a difference between you like spiraling into guilt or suppressing it and exploding versus working through your emotions and feeling better after the said cry, after said drive, after said that session is knowing how to give yourself space to have a mental breakdown. So for me, I have to outline what does a mental breakdown healthfully look like for me. It looks like calling my mom. It looks like crying. It looks like saying how I'm feeling uncensored out loud or on a piece of paper. Sometimes it means just getting some space and listening to music or podcasts. Okay, so how do I give myself space to do those things? I can strap my kids into the car. I can put them in a bathtub with a snack that they don't usually get to have. Okay, and that's what I do. So I love to put my kids in the bath and just throw some apples in there. I don't want to hear anybody say anything about hygiene right now because that's not what it's about. It's about the kids are eating apples in the bath and I have safe space to cry. They're not going to ask me for a snack. They think water is so fun. They think this is a treat. Another thing I would do is I would throw a blanket over our kitchen table and pretend under our table is like a really cool house fort. Usher them in there to read. I can call my mom. I can cry. But the idea is having a mental breakdown routine. When you feel that, and you feel you're about to, you know what I'm saying? Knowing what can I do with my kids so I can give myself the space. So I'm not the reactive mom who cannot hold their temper because I'm just on edge. I don't want to be like that. So that worked. My mental breakdown routine lives on. Okay, this is probably my favorite thing that I learned about Fun Mom Summer. I love to plan the little things. I planned a summer bucket list and they were not elaborate. They were dominoes, snow cones, ride a bike in the morning. Really like simple, doable things that almost, I feel like less of a summer bucket list. It was more of like a summer whimsy list, if you will. And that was the first time I'd ever like really done that before, I think. Loved it. And I'm doing it for fall. Actually, I will read you my my fall whimsy, my fall bucket list right now because it was so fun to have very simple things planned. It made the weeknight crunch feel special when we had a little activity. Okay, they're broken up. Here's your fall bucket list. At-home traditions, fall pajama and movie night, leaf crafts. If you're being like, Ashleigh, give me an explanation for these. The reason why there's no explanation is because it's literally as simple as you're imagining. When I say leaf craft, I'm just imagining gathering leaves, putting them on a table, and telling my kids, do you want to craft with these? Glue them however you want. Color them however you want. I spend hours on Pinterest, but not like this. Not like Pinterest mom crafts. That's not how I spend my time on Pinterest. Bake pumpkin muffins. Simple as it's a box mix. You go the extra mile if that's your thing. This one, family gratitude jar. A jar. You write down something you're grateful on at breakfast time and put it in there. You don't have to do it every day. Just when you think about it. Maybe once a week. And over the course of November, I want to be talking about what does it look like to, I guess, the spiritual Christian adult word would be cultivate gratitude. But for my kids, I say, what does it look like to be a noticer? That's the first step in being grateful is you have to notice it. We're talking about Thanksgiving, all about noticing. How can we be noticers? How can we notice the good things? How can we notice the things we like? How can we notice the kind things? So our gratitude jar is really going to be more of a noticing jar. Out and about, here are things more like family weekends and outings, visiting pumpkin patch, duh. Fall picnic at a park. I'm imagining either like picking up sandwiches. Gosh, I could eat a sandwich every day of my life for lunch. Maybe an apple. Bring it to the park. Sit on a blanket, maybe, but I don't know if my back would like that very much. So I'll be looking for a park with a picnic table. A neighborhood leaf walk. You walk around the neighborhood. You pick up every leaf you can find, shove it in a bucket. I think that's so cute. And then go to like a trunk or treat. Something else that you would have to do, you can't copy and paste, is look up fall family outings. And I make a master calendar of every fall festival, every trunk or treat, every free community event in our city. I add them all to a very specific Google Calendar. I create a new Google Calendar called Free Community Events. And then when I'm like looking at our week and I'm planning, I'm just like, what do we have going on? Yeah, it does take a little bit of work to write down everything in all the details and upload it in a Google Calendar, but I think it's so fun and it's so worth it just to like be able to be in the know. Okay, and then these are like very like everyday little moments would be apple taste tests. We're gonna get a couple apples. We're gonna decide which apple do we like the most. Family game night. This is not super fall themed, but just a night that maybe we have that awkward time in between dinner and bedtime. It's a little dominoes, go fish, make pumpkin pancakes. I think it's so fun. Obviously, this one's very simple. Draw pumpkins. out of sidewalk chalk. This one I think is so cute. Tailgate dinner. You make dinner, and then we are gonna eat it in the bed of my husband's truck because the weather's nice. That one's so cute. I want to do that one first. Morning bike ride. I want to craft our Halloween costumes this year. I recently got into sewing, and so I'm not gonna sew everybody's Halloween costume like in entirety, but maybe like a piece, or maybe like add a little something. Stargazing. We can't really see the stars super well, but if I can just see a star in the backyard in our jammies, I think that'd be so special. Pajama walk is our last one. One evening after dinner, get our jammies on, maybe a night that I have in my heart we're skipping baths, walk around the block with flashlights for sure. Anyways, okay, do these if you love them, but this is kind of our fall bucket list. What I want you to hear is super simple activities that we're planning. I'm looking at my week and being like, oh, maybe this week we can do like leaf crafts and pajama walk. I just think it makes the family culture so warm, and I'm just not going to think of these spur of the moment. That's not the kind of magic I bring into motherhood, is like the spontaneous, fun. It has to be planned for me if it's gonna happen. And so that's why I've learned that planning the simple was such a great idea from Fun Mom Summer that I'm carrying into fall with me. The carryovers are overstimulation, working out. A carryover is having a mental breakdown routine, keeping it, planning the little things. A huge part of Fun Mom Summer for me was learning how I like to play with my kids. It does not come natural. Yeah, that's the end of the sentence, period. It does not come natural for me to play with my kids in a way I like to. What does come natural for me is what I consider to be babysitter play. It's the kind of play that I can sustain for a set amount of time. So think like I imagine myself babysitting and people being like, oh, you're so good with kids. And it's because I'm being so silly. I'm saying like funny things. I'm making jokes that are their comedy. How else do I explain it? The kids, for example, this is so niche, but I think this is going to give you the energy picture I want you to understand. The kids are like, we want to play horsey. Okay, well then I'm getting on all fours. And I am going to be the most hilarious, realistic horse you've ever had. And maybe I'll eat grass for shock factor. You know what I'm saying? Right on my back, I'm going to make a neigh sound. And I am going ham. And the kids eating it up. Best babysitter ever. Adults, wow, you're so good with kids. That is how I know how to play. That is not sustainable. I can do that as a mom, but not every day. I don't want to do that every day. I have to learn, how do I actually like to play with my kids? That is a skill. And this summer, I feel like I really spent a lot of time figuring out what do I actually like and what is a gigantic compromise. And I am really grateful that I spent so much time and energy noticing what I like to do, what I don't like to do, editing my list. I have a list on my phone of things I like to do with my kids and things I just genuinely don't. I feel really empowered going into this fall whenever they get home from school or it's a weekend and we have like time that is made to be quality. I feel like I know what to do. I know what to do that's life-giving for everybody. So eating lunch is going with me from the summer. I've learned to harness the power of everything tastes better off mom's plate. And I used to just make a giant platter lunch and the kids would eat out of it. And so there's just this sense of, let's just all eat the same thing for lunch. In the past, I used to talk myself out of feeding myself lunch because I didn't want to make myself something separate. And I thought I didn't want to eat what I was making the kids for lunch. So if I was making them a PB&J, goldfish, grapes, and bananas, I'd be like, I don't really want to eat that. Well, you know what? That is better than eating nothing or making another choice. I started just eating kid food, essentially, for lunch, and it's great to eat lunch. So now when I pack my kids' lunches for school, I just make the exact same thing for myself. And every time I open my lunchbox, I do think this is not the lunch I would pick. But more than that, I also think I'm so grateful that I have my lunch pack. Thank you, past Ashleigh. This PB Nutella sandwich is going to be so delicious. I'm actually really glad it was prepared for me. Thank you so much. So eating lunch, taking that with me into fall. Cultivating a sense of togetherness is really abstract, but I would say when it comes to piggybacking off the thought of how do I actually like to play with my kids, not for my kids or to entertain my kids, it invited me into this idea of togetherness. we get home from the pool and there are glaring needs that need to be met in the family. Everybody is in wet clothes. We all need to get clean. We all need to wash our hair. Everybody's hungry. We played. We all need to eat. We all need to rehydrate. We all need to get our jammies on. Those are all needs we all have in common. Stick with me here. The baby, the toddler, and myself alike. And I think for so long, I imagined motherhood being, okay, well, now I know how to do bath time. I draw the bath. I put the baby toys in. I put the kids in there. I wrap them up in their towel. And I know how to do what social media shows me is bath time. I've been consuming mommy vlogs before I was even mom. I know what it looks like. But instead of being like, this family has needs, how do we meet the family's needs? Well, we could all shower together. We could all bathe together, could take a shower while the kids sit there and watch me and I ask them questions about their day, and then we rotate. Like, how do I create a system or a rhythm that meets everybody's needs? And I thought that was going to help me feel like I got my needs met, I guess, maybe a little bit less seen. And it did, but more than that, it created such a sense of togetherness without being like super like mushy gushy. I feel like strengthened my relationship with my kids, as opposed to like, you guys are the kids, I am the mom, which is a very true and useful dynamic, don't get me wrong. It was more of like, we're all in this together. We all enjoyed going to the pool, and now we're all gonna eat together. I don't know. I hope what I'm trying to say makes sense. I just really enjoyed the emphasis of we're all in this together, and the way that my routine supported that idea. And I'm taking that with me into the fall. Here's what's shifting. We talked about what I'm keeping. Here's what's shifting. The pressure to be an outside girl is on. I am not an outside girl. I love the indoors. I love all things indoorsy, but I recognize being outside is so good for me. I want my kids to be outside. There's not a strong argument as to why I should stay inside every day, all day when the weather's nice. So I'm inviting a little healthy pressure, a little healthy fire under the behind, if you will, to be more outdoorsy, to prioritize playing outside, you know, blah, 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 all of that. And what's shifting for sure, having a bedtime routine. We used to, like I shared, never have a bedtime routine, but now we do. So that is that. What I want you to gather is the Fun Mom Summer energy. If you too participated in Fun Mom Summer, doesn't have to end, because what I learned from being a fun mom this summer is for sure not summer specific. What I really learned was there's such a power and authority that I had been sleeping on to say, what do I have going on? What do I want to have going on? What is working for me? How do I feel when this is over? What boundaries do I have? Just asking myself all these questions, which essentially is what my Fun Mom Summer Guide did, and saying, okay, what can I do about it? How can I incorporate more play? How can I incorporate more rest? Are there like obvious things I need to say no to? And I recognize that's kind of a common question, so I would like to clarify. When I say, what do I need to say no to? For me, it was very, very rarely obligations. It was what I would consider to be silent invitations. Things that nobody was asking me if I wanted to do. So I was never like verbally saying like, yes, I'll be there. Yes, I'll do that. It was more of like, so let's go back to the swimsuit example. Nobody was specifically saying like, hey, Ashleigh, do you want to keep up with multiple swimsuits per kid this year? Nobody asked me that. So it was kind of a sneaky yes I was giving. But in owning multiple swimsuits per kid, that was a yes. Yes, I have to know where they are. I have to have them not be rotting and getting mold in the fibers of the fabric in my trunk of my car. When you're asking yourself, what do I need to say no to? I invite you to think, what are these silent assumptions? I do not want to keep up with multiple swimsuits. And I also learned I don't really want to keep up with multiple clothes. I think my kids can own 7 outfits. That's it, period. And I will wash them, and that'll just be that. And when they want to own more clothes, I'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I really think that I'm going to be saying no to managing a lot of clothes. To go a step deeper into this whole clothes situation, if my kids only own 7 clothes each, and they dump them all out on the floor of my home, would it be incredibly overwhelming? Honestly, no. I feel capable to look at 21 outfits and put them back in the closet and be like, that's as bad as it's gonna get. It can't get worse than all 21 on the floor. Do you know what I'm saying? Another no that I've been giving this fall is reinventing the dinner wheel. Similar to the pushback I have with lunch, like, oh, I don't want to eat the same things all the time, is not necessarily a reason to not eat the same things all the time. Because what is more of a no for you? No, I don't want to eat the same 13 meals on repeat, or no, I don't want to be in that place where I have to keep thinking about dinner. I'm doing a meal rotation this year, and I'm not jazzed about it, but every single time that the decision's already made for me, I'm grateful. I'm more grateful to have the decision made for me than I am annoyed or eating chicken fried rice for the same time. To wrap all of this up, that's what fall is looking like for me. Maybe this got your mind thinking, what is a fun thing from the summer you want to bring into fall? Is there a sense of play you were able to experience in the summer that you're hoping to hold on to? Is there a tradition or a system or a yes or a no that you loved that you want to adapt to your school year or fall routine? I want at the end of every podcast episode, I'm going to give a question, and then I want you to go answer it in the Type C Mom Club Facebook group, because we all want to see each other's answers. Here it is. What is one thing from summer you're carrying into fall? Please post it in the Facebook group. I'll put a link in the show notes so we can all learn from each other. But thank you guys for listening to the Ashleigh Show. If this episode gave you a little bit of breathing room or some fresh ideas, hit subscribe, share it with a friend, and we will be back same time, same place next week for another episode.